Joanne.
Always,
It's always a pleasure to see them. And, some people in the world that you don't talk to them all the time, but when you see them, it's like immediately connect.
yeah.
And you're one of those people.
Thank you. So are you.
You. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Accountability.
Accountability.
Can't affect the work.
Oh, my
The
goodness.
self-work. I mean, you can, but
Yeah, you'll have to live with it.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, and and we spoke about this obviously before we got on camera, but with what I think, let's just call it the insanity, just for
Right.
simplification, the insanity swirling around in the world, easy to get distracted,
Right.
very easy
Very
to get
true.
distracted. And I think also maybe it's easy to feel like, what's the point? What's the point? And what am I doing all this work for? I'm, healing from this issue or from that issue, and the world is a mess. And what's the point? What do you think about?
So I think because I've been doing self-healing and self-help work, just working on myself for so long, I don't focus on the world. I focus on, but I can see how that would be a perspective of people who have not come to the realization yet that it's within
Yes,
be the change you want.
yes,
So I can see it.
yes. I think I've heard that kind of perspective and even some sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
Things are getting bad and they're getting worse. And I don't feel that way at all.
I
I
don't
think we're in a transitional period of let's say, human life. It's a period of transition. Yes, and it is just life. And everything comes to pass. Everything comes to pass. But whatever's happening out there doesn't, it affects us, but in terms of our internal work, in terms of our growth, listen, the world could be perfection.
Right.
And if you don't do your work, it doesn't matter what is going on out there. You're going to be the same.
Yeah.
You're going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
So
Very.
my thing is, don't get distracted. You have to be aware of what's happening. You have to know that, there's a reality. There's a human reality. There's no question about it. But if you don't do the work you're supposed to do, what's the point? Well, how are you going to be better?
Yeah.
What's happening out there is not going to make you better or worse. What's going to make you
It's
better or
not.
worse is you.
And I think people forget that. It's like no matter what's going on in the world, which we can't control anyway, things have been happening from the beginning of time. Same kill things.
That's right.
Of course, the word
Right.
that was the first murder that we know of.
Right.
You not working on you was never going to stop killing Abel. However, when you work on you and you hear something like that, you don't let it destroy you. You say, God, I know what you're doing. It may not make sense to me, but it makes sense to you.
Right.
So I'm going to stay in my place
Right.
and work on me and trust. Because good and bad happens to everyone.
Yes. Yes. And so there's always sort of a divine perspective that's way above our ability.
Very limited
Yeah,
understanding.
we're like
We understand like really nothing.
Right. We basically know nothing. We basically know nothing.
I always say we don't know enough to be pessimistic.
Because that's how life is.
Because you really don't.
No, how many times has somebody been desperate and not had? I've seen lottery stories that they were down to their last penny and life was over, and then next thing you know, they won the lottery or some good thing happened. So you really don't know enough.
You don't.
I like that. That's really cool. You don't know enough
to be
pessimistic.
You don't. You really don't, because even as a life coach, when I'm listening to my client talk about whatever is happening, I understand that there's a side of the story that I don't know.
Right. That's correct.
And it's still from their perspective and their perception. You and I can write a short film about this day. Your film is going to be different from mine.
Completely.
We can do a film about this interview as her version of the interview is going to be different from mine.
Right.
So somebody outside watching it, you don't know enough information to be pessimistic about whatever you heard because you don't know what happened before that.
Right.
You don't know why I feel the way I feel, why she feels the way she feels. We just don't have enough information. That's why when you work on yourself and your own mindset, you have a very positive mindset, which the result of a positive mindset is just good fruit.
Right.
And if you want to look at everything negatively, then guess what? Your fruit is going to be negative.
There's no other way. You're going to produce as a man think it.
So
Or as a
indeed.
woman think it.
Yeah. So indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things in line with what you're saying is about, what women see in each other. And I think we've sort of crossed it probably before. But
Yeah.
I know for me, I can't tell you how many women, female friends I've had that had no idea the challenges I had experienced.
Oh
in
my
life.
God.
And they look at me and they have a certain perception of who I am.
Yeah.
Or they think, I don't know what
That you don't have a hard line.
Yes. Or that people think you're rich. People
Yeah.
think you are,
You don't
have an
haven't had
attitude.
a bad day.
Never. And
Oh yeah.
like there's a whole band of crazy.
Yeah.
A whole band of crazy. And people who really know me know the journey.
Yeah.
I would say for the first time in my life, I have become the woman that I always wanted to be.
That's wonderful.
And it took all this time.
And that's okay.
And it's okay.
Because at least you got there.
I did.
And you can get there. Don't
Yes.
as we talked about with the dad.
Mm-hmm.
I came into the woman that I desired to be early because, and I'm still evolving, but I just had a certain perception because, again, we talked about because I was raised by my father
Right.
and my mom, and they poured so much into me and my big sister that I almost couldn't help but rise to the occasion.
Right.
But it's never too late.
Right. And it's always possible.
It is always possible. So we definitely want you all to know that. And then, like we're saying with women,
Yes.
you don't know what your sister, just because your sister is beautiful. And when I say your sister, I mean other women.
Right. Any other woman.
Just because she's beautiful or she's well spoken or she's well put together, you don't know her. Let me tell you, I will never forget this, Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Piccadilly years ago. I don't even know if Piccadilly's are still open. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
This older white lady, she had to be like 80. We were in line to check out, but I will never forget. So she was in front of me. She turned around and she looked at me and she said, life is going to be easy. I would never forget this old white lady. And in my mind, I was like, girl, I don't know if the word is like but I was like, but I only see it, like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna see that, but I'm like, child, life has not been, so, but people will look at you, right, and think, certain things, but I'm saying I received it because with somebody that's positive, I'm like, well, that's God, like, because I'm beautiful, thank God.
Yeah.
But in the word, but people will envy you and be mean to you and say things about you because they look at you and they're like, oh, she's pretty. She's probably
Doesn't have any
never
problem.
had.
Has never had an issue in her life.
Yeah, like life happens to everyone.
Right. No, it's them.
No matter how you were raised, whether you were raised with the best parents or the worst, life happens to all of us because we have to have a human experience.
Right.
So be kind to people. You don't know enough to be pessimist.
Yes.
Enough to be mean.
Yes, enough to be mean. I will say that I have had many women that were allegedly my friend. Allegedly. And then come to find out, and I have to say that, especially in my younger years, I was a little bit sort of innocent.
Yeah.
Like innocent. Like, oh my God, we're not in way to a time. And I discover like this person is not good. Right, and they're not thinking anything. I'm like, butterfly and candy, and they're not thinking
And
that.
they're like, I don't even really like
It just gets on my last.
and I would never think my son. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So, in line with what we're thinking, that the idea of judging people,
Yeah.
and I find it very, very incomprehensible that women are so unkind to
I
each
know,
other.
it's so sad. We go through too much. We go through too much to be unkind. We bleed every month. Then I saw this video of this lady that was going through menopause, and she had a bald head, very beautiful woman, bald, and the smoke, the heat was coming from her head because she was hot. So but we already go through that, and then at a certain age, you go through that.
Right.
Like, why would you ever be mean to another woman? We birth children. We have miscarriages. We
Right.
go through all of these things, divorce, whatever. And then you want to be mean to another woman, knowing what you
And
have
for
to
no
go
reason.
Right.
And without knowing, like you just walk up to a person and you're like, whatever. No, you don't even know. And the least that you could do is be
Just be
kind
kind. It's free.
to another human soul
Yeah.
who you know without a question is going to go through something.
Yeah.
Or in this moment, might
It's
be
going
through
through something. Because you cannot look at someone and tell what they're going through. It doesn't matter how much money they have, what they look like, their husband, their career. It doesn't matter. You don't know.
You absolutely do not. And the thing that you have to give is just kindness. That it doesn't cost you anything to
free.
be kind. And especially in this time, which is where we started,
Yeah.
where so much, I think it's a transitional period for humanity.
Yeah.
That, things, it's always dark. It's
Yeah.
always darkest before the
For
dawn.
time.
And there's a lot of resistance to change, whether
Yeah.
it's with regards to race issues, with regards to women issues, and
Yeah.
all the list of things with regards to gender,
Right.
transgender
Yeah.
rights, and
Right.
homosexual. I mean, there's a whole
So much.
set of resistance to it. And to
There is.
me, it's very easy to just be in love and stand in love
That's it.
without judging, just
That's
like we're
it.
talking about the women.
That's it.
And then, things can move forward, because that's why we're where we are, because somebody's don't
Yeah.
want things to move
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Okay. But regardless of anything, the answer is always within.
The
And you
answer-
said that.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah.
Answer from within. Answers from within. And
That's so good.
this one has a lot of information, but the thing was that I was at a phase of my life and could not figure out the subtitle of the book, by the way, is Answers to Work-Life Issues from a Spiritual Perspective. And I was trying to find out, like, the 4 questions. Who am I? Why am I here?
Yeah.
Where am I going? And who's going with me? I mean, like, otherwise, what am I doing?
Right now.
Because you can work, and you can be at work 80 hours a week, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, and not feel like you're a part of the planet.
That's right.
You're just
You're just
working.
existing.
You're existing and you're just working. And there has to be a way that you're more connected to life.
Yeah.
Like, why did I come?
Why am I here? If the purpose of something is unknown, abuse is inevitable. If you don't know your purpose and why you are here, you will abuse yourself. You will abuse your gifts. You will abuse your talents because you don't understand the purpose of it.
Yes.
And who better to go to find out your purpose and why you were created in the creation?
Absolutely.
I mean, it just
That's where all your answers, and that is within.
it's within.
And so, for some of you, you already know, my first book, which was For the Love of My Father.
Yeah.
And that is just one of millions of issues that humans have. We have, I talk about growing up without a father.
Yeah.
There's so many young men who are without fathers
And mother.
and mothers. There's some people who have no
No,
parents.
I know.
People who have issues because they were adopted
Yeah.
and haven't processed that
Yes. Oh my
completely.
God.
The bottom line is that if you made it here, you somehow, whatever Whatever those people were
You're
doing,
here.
you are here.
Yeah.
And whatever your brand of issues is, the creator of the universe does create and not provide answers.
That's right.
How the creator of
There's no
the
way.
universes, galaxies, stars, planets. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about something phenomenal, what God is.
Right.
But it's gonna send you here and there's
Just
no
drop
answer.
you off and
Just
like,
drop you and they're doing an answer to the problem and there's
Right.
no answer.
and here's the thing, we have to pay attention.
Yes.
We have to pay attention. We have to be obedient when God has given us people to speak into our lives, to mentor us, even if
Yes.
it's not our parents.
Mhm.
Because I can think about people who I have poured into, and that's why it says in the word, don't cast your pearl before swine.
Right.
God will send you sign, omen, all kinds of things.
Yes.
But you have to be obedient and you have to listen. Because like Olivia told me about what it's called, what is it?
Which one?
The pill like your husband started taking and
Oh, NAD. NAD.
NAD. I've never heard of that in my entire life. There's no coincidence that we could have had a conversation about billions of things. There are
Right.
billions of topics we could talk about. But we were just talking about yourself healthy. And she said, oh, Jael, you need to start taking NAD. You think I'm not going to?
Right.
So if I'm like, oh God, I want to be healthy, Lord. But I'm not doing anything to be proactive, and God sends an angel to tell me, like, we have to listen.
Right.
You have to listen.
You have to get your mind quiet enough
Yeah.
to listen.
Yeah.
Because God is always working with us.
Always.
Always. Because guess what? God is not over there.
No.
God is right here.
God is within it.
Right here, and it's right here, and it's right here, and it's right here. So no sense looking over here. It's right inside of you, and it's always working for you because each one of us is God's creation.
That's right.
So why would you create something and then abandon it?
That's right.
You don't know how it works. And I know, there's a lot of stuff that's said out there, but just going from a practical perspective, how would the creator, a magnificent creator, just think about everything that's on the planet. And we are the pinnacle
That's right.
of that creation. But we get sent down here with a whole bunch of problems and there's no solution. Cannot be.
Yeah.
There are answers.
Can't
But
be.
what you have is you have to live.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, talk about running mind. I have that because what happens when you have stress and trauma, especially as your mind is always trying to figure out how you're going to survive. Oh, your mind is like, what's going to happen next? And how am I going to do it? And who's coming? And what's going to... So you have to get your mind to be quiet, right? So that you can listen, or so that you can receive inspiration.
Oh my God.
Or so that you can relax. And that's why, I know people who they have to smoke pot.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that calms the mind.
That's true.
I mean, I'm not giving, I'm not saying it's okay to smoke pot, right? I'm not suggesting that. I know people, their lives have been so stressful.
Yeah, they've been
especially coming from childhood.
Yeah.
And the only thing that calms them down is that. But I said this to someone once before. All the spaces that you're filling with pot, you can fill with God.
But God made pot.
I know.
I'm just saying, God made it. So if you're going to do it, please make sure it's natural, organic, grown properly.
Right. And I didn't have any pro or con against pot, whatever works for you. What I'm saying is,
but
you're looking for something. Pot, it means
they're using it to cold, not, I got it.
And the thing that can help you the most is finding your connection with the divine. I mean, if you want to smoke pot, and you can get, and whatever the prescription, and I don't know what the story might be, what stage you're in or what country, but the thing that you're looking for, that you're using the pot for, is trying to find God.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
And I heard from men, because I life coach a lot of men. Men have told me, some people use drugs, some people use sex.
Right.
They said the time where they were sleeping with the most women, they were the loneliest.
Yes.
Because what they were seeking is God.
Yes.
They were trying to fulfill a void that man cannot fill.
Yes.
It's impossible. Man cannot fill those empty voids.
Yes.
If you had childhood trauma, sleeping around or, doing drugs or harming yourself will not fill that void. It won't fix it. Again, like we said in the beginning, the work starts within. So you have to go within and fix those things because everybody that I've ever talked to who use certain things to escape, it's just an escape. It's temporary. The problem is still there. You never dealt with it. So, we have to again go within and it's okay. Do the work.
Yes.
Everything is work.
Be willing to do the work. Be willing to clean up. In this book, For the Love of My Father, I speak about carrying baggage under the decks. Like you're a ship, right? And you're sailing, and you don't even know that you're weighed down by a bunch of crap in the
Oh my God.
below deck.
Below deck.
And things that your parents put,
I know.
experiences and you don't even know. And the worst part about that is that the things that you have here built into you, the energy that you have, attract other of those same energies. So your ship is out there sailing and you're attracting stuff, and then you're like, what is happening to me?
Yeah.
Well, because it's here. But again, the creator does not create a universe without solutions.
That's right.
Just as the problem was created, it can be healed.
There's a solution. 100%.
Yes. You can throw those boxes off your ship.
That's right.
You can heal yourself, and you all know that I speak, and we've spoken before, and forgiveness is the key.
Oh my
Because
God.
that is the thing that relieves all kinds of negative energies from you.
Mhm.
And you can do that. And if you've seen us speak before, if you've seen me, if you've seen Jael, forgiveness is at the core, everything. And the important thing about today is that, our concern that people are getting off track because of the insanity
Right.
that's swirling around. But the point is that regardless of what's happening out there, this work,
Yes.
nobody can do it for you.
Nobody can do it for you. It is so beautiful when you start doing the work and you see how your mindset changes.
Yes.
And you see how things that used to bother you no longer bother you. You see how when you've done the work and you see someone that when you would see them before, you would want to fight them, that anger is gone.
Mhm.
The work is for you. The forgiveness is for you because it releases you from the pain, from the negative mindset, from the dis-ease that's caused because you keep reliving and replaying what somebody did to you over and over, which you are a prisoner to them.
Yes.
So it releases you from a prison of other people when you forgive.
Absolutely.
The work.
It works. It works if you work
you
it.
work
I think
I'm
Johnny
serious.
Coleman said that, and
Oh.
and she has a book. It's called "It Works If You Work It," and
Wow, I didn't even know that.
yes, it works if you work it by Johnny
It's
Coleman.
so true.
Yeah, and I do the work that I do because I want people to know that it's possible to come from, the very bottom of life, not just in terms of finances,
Yeah.
but in terms of emotion,
Yeah.
things that you've been through, challenging circumstances, and be living. And for me, at a certain point in my life, I just said, let's say too painful.
Okay.
I got to figure
That's
this
too
out.
much.
It's just too much.
No, that
And it was this and
too
it was.
much.
And then, you get married and you married the wrong
Yeah,
person.
too much.
And then you have a kid.
Yeah.
And then, then you're raising the kid by
Yes,
yourself. And
too
that
much.
person is gone. And then you're working.
Yeah.
And you got to hold it all together. And
Yeah.
you need some
I
answers.
know.
Not just like somebody telling you, like if you go to the psychologist and the psychologist says this.
Right.
Or maybe you go and sit in church on Sunday,
Right.
which is good, by the way. I'm not saying don't do that. Go to church. But beyond that, the finding the healing requires you to be actively involved.
It does.
And I was desperate. I was like, no, there's got to be a better way. This cannot be
right.
the way.
That's right. This can't be life.
This can't be the whole
This
thing.
cannot be. Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt that way about my life in general. And when I started practicing law, I was like, it's gonna be like,
Wow.
it's gonna be in terms of work,
Yeah.
right? Because I come from a working class family.
Okay.
Everybody worked. My mother went to college. My father went to college, but before that, nobody had been to college.
Got it.
Now I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a lawyer.
Right.
And then I get there and I say,
Oh my God.
and
Wow.
can't be it.
Wow.
This cannot be it. Because you work just like everybody works, but in terms of the sense that you're feeling fulfilled,
Work field.
not at all. Not at all.
Wow.
I still practice law and I like it and I found something that I like.
Okay.
But that was not my calling.
Got it.
Oh, that was not my calling. I
That's
have
a word.
skills. Yes, I have
Wow.
civil skills and things like that. And I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
But
But
that
wasn't
wasn't
your
my calling, right? And I needed to figure that out.
wow.
In fact, I left practice. I left for many years. I practiced and then I said,
What type of law did you practice initially?
I did like commercial litigation, business litigation.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was even less because I always felt like I wanted to help. I wanted to help people. I wanted to be connected to people.
Yeah.
That has its pros and its cons because
Yeah.
you have to make a living, right?
Right.
And
Right.
So there's some practicalities to that.
That's right.
But then I was like, I think that there's something else
Okay.
that I'm here to do.
Oh.
And that's how I ended up writing Answers from Within.
Got it.
Because that was the whole thing. And that title came to me as I was, I was like, what is this life? Why am I here? It's not just like, I write these things here, but that was my
Listen.
like for real.
But you know what's beautiful about what you just said? I'm
What?
sorry, I have to say this.
Yeah.
So we just talked about how
The answer.
you had to find your purpose, right? And you go through life and you're like, I know you didn't just drop me off your God.
Right.
So she found her answers even in a time where she was like, I'm not happy.
Right.
So it's not wasted. So even if you're going through life and you're just like,
Correct.
right, that led her to writing this book,
Yeah.
which is helping and blessing so many people.
Yeah.
So ask, like, if you're like, I'm not fulfilled, what should I do?
Right.
The answers will come. Look, yes, this is the answer.
Yeah.
Proof.
Yeah.
What we just said.
It absolutely positively worked. Absolutely. And then again, the 4 questions. These are the
Mhm.
questions that were like, okay, who am I?
Who
In
am
the
I?
context of the universe, where do I fit?
Yeah.
And I didn't just want to be like the child of my mother and my father.
Right. Because you're
or
more than that.
More than that. And then I like the next, not this one, but
Okay.
why am I here?
Why am
Okay,
I-
why am I here?
Yeah.
And this is the big one, right?
Okay.
Where am I going? What's
Where
the
am I
purpose?
going?
Right? And the last one that's very complicated, who's going with me?
Yes. Because you can't take everybody with you.
Listen, you can't. And then for women particularly,
Yeah.
relationships can impact. You can answer
Oh,
all
my
3
God.
questions
Right.
and no. And then get yourself in a scenario
Mm.
where you don't go nowhere and you don't do nothing.
Making sure that wrong.
Because
person-
exactly. So, and it's not that women are, not interested in having relationships and
Mhm.
things like that, but you need to find somebody who is going to go with you
Yes, right.
where you need to go. Okay.
Yeah.
And he can be happy or she, whatever
Yes.
works for you.
And they're
but
going to be an asset.
They're going to be an
Not
asset and
like
they're
it.
going to be supporting you
Yeah.
because they know that you are a divine
That's right.
being that's come here to do something
That's
just
right.
like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that is like one of the most important things. Who's going with me? Like
Yeah.
once I find myself, because I've been in relationships where I felt held back.
Yeah.
I
Oh
felt
my God.
held back, like, oh, I can't do this, or he's gonna think this, or maybe he's gonna think that I'm, hugging all the
Right.
attention, or whatever.
And that's prison.
Yes, and
Just,
you feel like that,
yeah.
And God has poured a lot into you, everything that you need. In this book, I talk about the fact that every human being
Mhm.
has I forgot how many kilotons of dynamite energy.
Wow. I love it.
It has, I think,
Oh, wow.
88 times more dynamite energy than the bomb that was dropped in Nagasaki,
Wow. I
Japan.
believe it. I feel
Every single human being.
Yeah.
But if you don't connect to it,
You won't know. I definitely have lots of dynamite.
yes, I'm sure you do.
I can tell. I know I have a lot of
That
dynamite.
you
Yeah, I love that. I'm dynamite.
because come on, when God sends us, so to speak, what is it? It sends a being that has the energy to run this.
That's right.
Where does the
Isn't
energy
that
to run
amazing?
it?
Oh,
You can
God.
run this. Now they say to 120. You can
Wow.
run
That's
it. A
right.
human can
So
live.
what's running it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you give yourself
so
food and
good.
whatever, but the core, you come in with a certain amount of
You
energy.
do.
Yeah.
That's
And,
right.
and every day I think it gets better and people become more aware.
Mhm.
But the thing is, are you willing to explore who you genuinely are,
Yes.
who you were sent to be? And that's apart from whatever might be happening in the world
That's
right now.
right.
You have to balance that. It's happening, it's real, it has some effects. You take it into account. But this right here is
Yeah.
the thing.
It's the thing.
Okay?
Because here's the thing. Even if you are called to Palestine,
Yes.
even if that's your calling,
Mhm.
you can't go and you jacked up on the inside.
Right.
And your mind is not right. But that doesn't make sense. Even if you're called to the whales to
Yes.
save the whale, if you're not mentally ready, you won't even have the bandwidth to get on the flight, to go over there, to do all the things it takes to save the orphans, to feed
Yeah.
the homeless. You have to be, even if you are called to those issues,
Right.
you still you need to be ready and whole within so you can take on, because that's taking on someone else's, that's taking on their stuff,
Right.
along with what you have to deal with in your
Right.
life.
Right.
So you have to do the work.
You have to. I mean, for me, part of my concern about health and well-being is because I have something to do. I have something to do.
I'm grateful, but
Yes.
this has to last me
Yes. The whole time.
the whole time.
And I
I
have to be able to move.
healthy and fit and in my right mind the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's, it's putting everything together and not letting the external factors control
Yeah.
what happens, because it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to for some people it's easy to get hopeless.
That's right.
And those things are temporary. The things that are swirling out there are temporary.
They always change.
They change from one minute to the
They
other.
really do.
But if you get connected to your core, the core of who you are, your divine energy, your divine everything, those things will swirl. But you will continue to function. You will
That's right.
continue to grow. You will continue to exist.
Yeah.
Those things can't fuel you. Your fuel is in here.
Yeah.
And that's where you need to get connected. You'll be able to move forward.
I love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, as you know, I am not just one, but two. For the number of it, thank you. For the love of my father, for my girls out there, you can fix yourself. You
Yes,
can
ma'am.
fill yourself with divine love.
Yes.
Everything is possible. You can come from the bottom, from the pits of despair,
That's right.
and make it and be happy and have a good life.
That's right.
And if you're having issues with work and why you're here and what you're here to do, both of them are on Amazon. And I'm Olivia S. Benson, and my page, oliviasbenson.com. You got to put the S, because otherwise I think it's Marissa Hargett.
And I'm Jael the Great. Thing is my name, Jael the Great.
Yes. And you're a life coach.
And so I'm an actress. I act, write, direct, produce. Please support all of my films. Just Google my name. I'm also a life coach. I have so many beautiful life coaching clients. I love them so much. And I am accepting new ones. Oh, I do so much. I'm an author. I have a book for Girl Dad, Beyond Providing the Critical Role of Fathers in Their Daughters' Lives. I have a book for parents and daughters called Loving Your Daughter to Greatness. I have audiobooks with affirmations. So just check out the link tree in my Instagram. Just get all the good things.
Yes. Always wonderful. We
Thank
sit down and we do these talks.
Yes.
We don't script them or
No.
anything along those lines. We just sit down and share every time we get a chance.
Yeah, it's from our hearts to yours.
Yours. Absolutely. Take care.
Peace.
Bye-bye.